All right, folks. Hey, we got a couple people in quarantine, and this is really a foundational thing for our class. So I decided I'd make this video talking you through R.A.C.E.C.E paragraphs. First of all, if you weren't here, we did this on page 3 of our journals. So if you would go ahead and take a moment to add page 3 to your table of contents, R.A.C.E.C.E paragraphs, and then I'll talk you through the requirements just like I would if you were in class. So here we go. Page 3 in your table of contents, R.A.C.E.C.E paragraphs. I'll also mention, of course, this is just a YouTube video, so you can pause, you can go back at any time if you need to hear the explanation again, or if I'm going too fast for you, feel free to slow it down, pause, take a break whenever you need to, just to make sure that you've got everything good to go. After you add this to your table of contents, of course, the next step is to open your journal to the next blank page. Looks like this, as always. So you'll remember, of course, that the left side and right side are the same on the screen as they are in front of you. So you can see that we are going to start on our right side here today because we are taking notes. And whenever we take notes, that always goes on the right side. That's the teacher input side. That's when I give you the information. So R.A.C.E.C.E paragraphs is your title. Now, when we talk about R.A.C.E.C.E paragraphs, this is the main form of analytical writing that we're going to do in this class. And it is a form of writing we call literary analysis. Okay, now as you're taking notes, you're writing all of this down on the right side of page 3. And literary analysis, to a certain extent, is exactly what it sounds like. You're analyzing the literature. But I'm going to give you 2 bullet points in the way of notes for this. Number 1, literary analysis is a type of writing that carefully examines an aspect of a work of literature. So, for example, we might be looking at a particular character or a theme or some big idea that is addressed in the work of literature, in the text that we're reading, that we're working with. In addition, literary analysis answers a question, and it's usually argumentative, okay? So usually, in addition to answering that question, it's doing so in a way that explains your answer to the question. It's not gonna be a yes or no question. It's not going to be a basic knowledge type question, okay? You'll remember when we were talking about our journal expectations, I mentioned how knowledge type questions are things like, who's the main character in the story? Or, things like what happens at the beginning or at the end, or something like that, okay? Something that's a very definite right or wrong answer. An analysis question, though, is deeper. It requires a little more. And there may not necessarily be a right or wrong answer, as long as you can back it up using the text, okay? Now, early in the year, when you did your English student survey, one of the questions on there was about, your confidence as an ELA student and your confidence as a writer and that sort of thing. And some of you were pretty confident, but a lot of you were not. So just a brief story. When I was a sophomore in high school, I took the honors sophomore English class at my school, and my teacher was awesome and also pretty hardcore. And she assigned us an essay. And of course, I know this might be hard to imagine, but she assigned us this essay and we were all whining about it. We were all complaining about having to write this essay. And we were stressed out, let's be honest. And she kind of cut through the whining and silenced the class. And she said, I don't know what you all are so concerned about. It's just a formula. You just have to plug the right things into the formula, okay? So that's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you the literary analysis paragraph writing formula. And then on the left side is where you'll practice, okay? So let's take notes on what this actual paragraph structure is. So it's an acronym, of course, and here's what they stand for. Obviously, the first thing is restate the question, okay? When we're doing literary analysis, clarity is super, super important. Making sure you are very, very clear about what you're arguing. So the number one way to be clear is to make sure we know what question you're answering and what is the answer to that question. So you need to make sure that you restate the question and that you answer the question clearly. If I asked you, what did you have for breakfast this morning? You would restate the question by saying, this morning for breakfast, I had fill in the blank, right? This morning for breakfast I had is restating the question. And then you saying whatever it was that you actually had, that's your answer, okay? C stands for cite evidence. Now, notice that it says cite evidence. So you're not just briefly explaining a thing that happened in the text, but when we say cite evidence, you're actually going in, you're finding a direct quote, you're typing it or handwriting it, however the case may be, whatever the case may be, but you're writing that quote word for word from the text in your paragraph. Don't forget as well, when you cite evidence, to give a little bit of context to set it up, and also to have your parenthetical citation, where you have the author's last name and the page number in parentheses right at the end of that quote that you took straight out of the story, okay? Now, when you cite evidence, I find that there are, that a problem that people have sometimes is they pick a quote that maybe doesn't really back up their answer. So E stands for explain how your evidence proves the answer to the question, okay? It's really clear, right? That's the idea, clarity, as I said. But you wanna make really, really clear, how does this evidence that I cited prove the answer to the question, okay? I find that sometimes when I return these papers, if people get a score they don't like, they come and talk to me, and that's okay. You can always come talk to me about a score. Sometimes people come to me and they say, Mr. Knox, what happened? And I look at it and I just read it out loud. I said, well, you said the answer to the question is this, and the evidence you selected was this. How does that evidence prove the answer to the question? And frequently when I have that conversation with people, they say, oh, I guess it doesn't. Exactly, right? You've got to make really sure that your evidence actually proves the answer to the question. And in order to do that, you're going to need to make sure that you can explain. If you can't explain how the evidence proves the answer to the question, it's probably not the right piece of evidence for you, okay? The next CE is predictable. You cite a second piece of evidence, and then you explain how that second piece of evidence also proves the answer to the question. Now, I suggest sometimes if you think you've got an answer, make sure that you have two pieces of evidence. Because what happens sometimes is someone restates answers, they cite a piece of evidence, they explain it, and then they get stuck. And they say, Mr. Knox, I can't find another piece of evidence that I could cite in my paragraph. And I might come over and take a look, and then I might think of something and say, ooh, you should look back at page 15, right? And I'll give you a little bit of help, and that's okay. But also, I might come over and say, that's interesting. If you can't find a second piece of evidence, it might be that there isn't a second piece of evidence in the story to back it up. And if that's the case, you might have to start over. You might have to find a different answer to the question if you can't back it up with at least two pieces of evidence from the text. Now, this is the point where I get here and I give you a semi-trick question. I always ask the class, we get here, and I say, how long is a paragraph? How long is a written paragraph? And usually people around the room think back to middle school and they say, oh, it's like 4 to 6 sentences, okay? And in middle school, that might be true, okay? And in high school, we're gonna go beyond that, okay? So right next to each of these things that you wrote, go ahead and just add these brackets off to the side. So when you restate and answer the question, those two things are probably going to be in the same sentence. It might be two sentences if you have a complicated question or a complicated answer, but usually it's going to be just one. Remember the example. For breakfast this morning, I had eggs, right? For breakfast this morning, I had, restate, eggs, answer, okay? That's just one sentence. Both of those things are in one sentence. If you have a more complicated question or a more complicated answer, it might become two. When you cite evidence, that's 1.5 to 2 sentences. Mr. Knox, how do you write half a sentence? Well, you need to give a little bit of context and stick it in there before the quote. So you're not just dropping the quote in out of nowhere. So you're going to say something like, in the first section of the story, whatever your answer to the question is going to be, in the first section of the story, etc., quote, okay? And so you need to have that set up. Now, how long should your quote be? You don't need your quote to be more than a sentence long, okay? Some people even say, oh, your quote should be no more than 6 words. I'm not that extreme. I'm not that hardcore about it, but really one sentence should be enough. If it's not, if it's more than that, well, then you have more to write because your explanation needs to be at least 2 sentences long. And your explanation, a good rule to think, ooh, did I write enough? A good rule is your explanation at least twice as long as the quote that you're citing? Is it at least twice as long as that evidence that you're citing? Because if you cite like a whole paragraph out of a story, holy moly, there's a lot to write about there. And so if there is a lot to write about there, you need to address it. You need to explain, how does all of this evidence prove the answer to the question? So usually your quote that you're picking is just going to be about a sentence, and then your explanation will be 2, etc. I usually write about 3 when I'm doing examples, but at least 2. Then, of course, just like the others, citing evidence is 1.5 to 2. Explaining again is at least 2. So we said originally, many people think that a paragraph is 4 to 6, but when you're doing this format, if you count it up, the total length of your R.A.C.E.C.E paragraph is going to be 8 to 10 sentences or more. Now, when you see that example written out on a page, yeah, it might look like a lot, right? It might look like more than you're used to. But here's the thing. I'm not telling you, sit down and write a 10-sentence paragraph. What I'm telling you is, do each of these chunks, right? Restate the question. I bet you can do that. Answer the question. I bet you can do that. Cite evidence, with a little bit of context in a sentence or 2. I bet you can do that, etc. Right? You can do each of these chunks. It's just taking the time to thoughtfully do each piece and then put them all together into a paragraph. Okay. Now, when we do like a full essay, there's even more to it. And I'll talk more about that structure when we get there. But honestly, this is really close to what you're going to be doing for a body paragraph in an essay too. So it helps us build toward that eventual large writing task that we'll have to do later. Okay. Now, these are the notes. They go on the right side. The left side is student output. So now that you've got these notes and now that you know what R.A.C.E.C.E structure should look like, what I want you to do is on the left side of your journal, write the letters down and space them apart like this, okay? R.A. can be right next to each other because they're going to be in the same sentence, probably. But then make sure you're spacing this out all the way down the page. Some people even drew a big C and a big E that like took up 3 or 4 lines each because you're going to have to write at least 2 sentences in there, okay? And then I'm going to give you a literary analysis question. Now, in class, we wrote this response together, okay? And some of it, I asked for volunteers and we put it up on the board and then people wrote it down. And then some of it, I just gave people time to write their own, to find their own and write their own. So here's the question. In Bread by Margaret Atwood, that was the story we read, what causes bread to gain or lose value? Okay. You don't have to write down the question because look, you're going to restate it when you answer it. But this is a literary analysis type question. There might be a number of different answers that you could come up with, okay? Your job is to write an R.A.C.E.C.E paragraph following this structure in order to answer this analysis question, okay? You'll notice this is a little more complicated than just who's the main character, okay? My suggestion to you is to look at the pages you did in the textbook, the pages that where you looked at each paragraph or each section of the story Bread, and they gave you the kernel and then you answered the rest of the questions. I believe it's pages 18 through 20. Look back at those pages. That's really going to help you find evidence so that you can complete this, okay? In the next couple of days, we're gonna read our next story, and I'm gonna assign you your first graded assignment for this class, which will be an R.A.C.E.C.E paragraph based on our next story, okay? So I hope this is helpful to you, whether you were absent or whether you are coming back to it in order to make sure to refresh yourself. If you have questions, please feel free to email me, talk to me in class, let me know, and I will make sure to get back to you, talk to you about it to make sure that you understand, because this is really foundational to the work that we're going to do in here this try. All right. Thank you so much. Take care. Make it a great day.